Welcome to the world of CDR Beer Lab, the fast and easy-to-use analysis system designed for breweries of all sizes. With CDR Beer Lab, you can monitor in real time the quality of your beer, from the grain to the finished product, analyzing parameters like bitterness, color, alcohol content, and much more, all directly in your brewery. No more waiting for lab results. As the Brewfeast brewery claims, with CDR Beer Lab, the immediate benefit was undoubtedly the speed of execution in the various analyses that we undertake here in-house in the internal laboratory. Simple, accurate, and fast. With CDR Beer Lab, controlling every stage of production is within everyone's reach. Let's discover how to enhance your beer with a professional tool and immediate results.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the final session of day one of our 2024 CDP Fall Virtual Conference. Huge thanks to CDR Beer Lab and ABS Commercial for helping keep our community 100% free and accessible to all. Thank you all to our speakers who shared their insight today, and to all who will hit the stage tomorrow. And thank you to all of you who make our community a vital place for us to all grow stronger together. We're about to kick off a conversation on the value of local guilds. Often we look to our state and national industry leaders for support and resources. However, as you'll see today, our panelists all across the country are each in leadership roles with their local guild or alliance. Today, we're going to hear how they bring their communities together, raise money, provide value, and more. But first, let's meet them. I'd love to begin by learning a little bit more about each of you. Please share your role with your local guild or alliance and any additional hats that you wear. And Karis, you're to the right of me. You get to go first.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. Hi, my name is Karis Roberts. I am the Executive Director of the Asheville Brewers Alliance. We are a 501(c) membership collective. We have breweries and other beverage producers and businesses in our membership all over Western North Carolina and as far away as California. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for as a resource for our guild and our ABA membership, but we love to have all kinds of different folks that help our breweries thrive.
And Karis, with all the terrible devastation going on in Western North Carolina, you still seem to have a really positive attitude right now. Your energy is usually there. I know it's tough.
It's been extremely difficult to say the least. We had a lot of breweries completely flooded to the point where it was above the roof and all you could see was roofs. We saw kegs and entire shipping containers pinned against bridges. Folks even like New Belgium, New Origin, Wedge, French Broad River Brewing, Hillman, they can't open their doors for a while because the flooding was so catastrophic. We are all, still peeing outside every day. We don't have running water. Schools are suspended indefinitely. But we are trying to get things back and running. So folks like Wicked Weed got some AB money and they brought in some water tankers. So they're brewing this week and they've got orders to fulfill. And we're trying to be as resilient as possible. Everybody's like, well, how hard is it to do so-and-so and so-and-so? And it's like, everything is exceptionally hard right now because we don't even have great internet and cell phone reception. So I had to come and find Wi-Fi. Yeah, it's been extremely difficult, but times like this, it's really nice to have all of the business owners' numbers in my phone so I can call and mobilize very quickly. And the brewing community is especially talented and equipped to handle this because everyone knows how to use forklifts. Everyone can handle large donations of equipment. So we've been getting semis of water and I call all the breweries and I'm like, hey, can you help? And they're like, we don't have power, but we can be a storage site and we can be a distro site and our staff can't work, but they can volunteer if they want to. And it's been incredible to see how our breweries have come together to offer aid in this time of need.
Wow. I mean, shout out to you and that leadership you're providing, helping organize people and just the North Carolina Guild in general. I mean, you all are going through such a challenging time and it's been really heartwarming to see everybody come together.
Well, and I will say the state guilds really showed up and breweries from all over state and Virginia and South Carolina brought in those semis, brought in canned water, and immediately mobilized to help us. And a lot of them did have my personal cell phone. So they didn't ask. They just came and said, hey, I know that you probably have a brewery that can accept this. So we're on the way. and it was a very non-negotiable, we're coming to show up and support in any way that we possibly can. So we've felt that love from even our state guild and all of the other breweries.
And I think everything you just said speaks to the value of why local guilds are needed and the value they provide, which we're going to dive into more in just a little bit. But Matt, I'd love for you to share a little bit more about what you're doing up in New York.
Okay, yeah, Karis, I'm glad to see you guys are mobilizing. Great work up there, and we're all behind you. So hopefully you get everything turned around quickly. But so on my front, I'm the operations director for the Long Island Brewers Guild. We are a sub-chapter of the New York State Brewers Association. But we operate pretty much autonomously. But we always keep in mind what's going on the state level and try to go from there. I've been involved with the guild for about 2 years officially, and we've been, moving more towards getting a little more organization going. Our membership on Long Island geographically is challenging because Long Island's about 100 miles long, so getting people in the same room for a meeting is a little difficult. But we've been working. Membership's up about 30% since I enrolled, and we launched our first festival this year, so things are moving.
Well, glad you're here, Matt. It was awesome hanging out with you actually at the New York State Brewers Conference, which really does feel like forever ago.
Yeah, 6 months ago. So we're getting close to next year's at this point. So, I've been involved in the New York State Brewers Association for the better part of a decade now. So that's been something where I learned a lot being involved there. In terms of how to run a guild and the organization and what it takes to get things done. So, it's definitely a learning experience going up to those events every year.
Well, and shout out to Matt too, who you won Industry Partner of the Year at that event, which was pretty awesome. We'll dive into the role of industry partners in this whole ecosystem, but that's a huge honor you got.
Yeah, it's just being there and being as involved as possible. My day job is insurance. So I started working with breweries about the same time, about a decade ago. And, this is the part of my day that I really get to enjoy, working with the brewery community and being as involved as I am. So it's definitely a pleasure to get that award. And, I was floored. So they took me off guard with that one.
No, congrats again. You may or may not have teared up when I saw you hit the stage.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. So, a decade of work, and it's nice to get acknowledgement, especially when you're fanboying over people like Fred Matt or Steve Hindy at these events, and all of a sudden these people are clapping for you. So it's a weird vibe,
Well, congrats again. Now, Erik, you're up. Well, I'm excited to see you virtually. I'm more excited, perhaps, to see you face-to-face in San Diego for CPP Connects in December. But anyways, tell everybody who hasn't met you before a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, my name's Erik Fowler. I'm the executive director for the San Diego Brewers Guild. I've been in this role for the last year, but I've spent about 15 years within the craft beverage space, mostly on the brewery and supplier side. Our guild was founded in the mid to late 90s and has gone through a lot of different versions and iterations of itself within that time. Most notably, the last 10 years was fairly structured and stable when they brought on a dedicated executive director who I came in after. So we have about 150 breweries locally with about 220 satellite facilities throughout the county. San Diego County is also fairly large, not 100 miles across, but a couple hours from end to end. So we do see kind of split in geographical differences. So we tend to have to favor the middle of the county to try to attract as many of our members to some of our events as possible. I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit more, but with the maturation of our industry, especially in San Diego, our guild has really focused this last year on supporting our internal communities. So while we still have San Diego Beer Week coming up in November, we've done everything we can to provide content on managing your business, admin, HR, insurance, really anything we can do to help you streamline your business has been what we've really concentrated on this last 12 months.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, Erik. Now, Karis, I believe that you mentioned that the Asheville Brewers Alliance is set up as a 501c6. Is that correct? Talk to us a little bit about that, maybe when the organization was formed. Kind of love to hear about how you organize the Alliance.
Yeah, so it's actually a pretty unique kind of formation of how it works. And to Erik's point, it has kind of evolved over the years depending on the needs of our members. It was originally created in 2009 by Mark Rangel of Asheville Pizza and Brewing. And he wanted it to be just breweries, brewery owners who were coming together, sharing ideas, continuing education, event planning for their front of house and back of house, that kind of thing. And then over the years, it kind of morphed into a lot of local breweries. Asheville is now, well, with the recent flooding, I don't think we are any longer beer city per capita with the most microbreweries because so many were quickly eliminated overnight. But before a month ago, we were Beer City, USA, and we had the most microbreweries per capita. And with that, we had a lot of other outside businesses that also wanted to use the breweries for resources, whether it be malt, hops, lawyers, realtors, production equipment, POS systems. So we decided to open up our membership to those kind of members as well. So our makeup is actually pretty unique because the first few divisions are by barrel size. So that's where you'll see Sierra and New Belgium. And then most of our smaller breweries are in that 5,000 to 1,000 barrel size. And then we also have a class for our allied trade members, the realtors, the hops, the malt, and all of those other businesses that really want to work with the breweries and use them for resources. So it kind of just depends on who you are and what kind of business you have, but we really want you within our membership to help our breweries thrive. And so this time last year, I'll get into it later, but we actually partnered with a healthcare practice to offer all of our members healthcare and mental health services. So
No, that's an amazing benefit there.
Using our members for good.
Love it. Now, Matt, you mentioned you're like a subdivision of the New York State Brewers Guild. Talk to me a little bit about what that means and how that kind of resulted in you all being formed.
Well, there's really it's kind of very loose. We all report, especially in regards to like legislative matters or things like that, that we don't get involved with on our own. If we have an issue on the island that's more intrinsic to us, we're going to consult the state. Obviously, the state's a much bigger organization. We basically are, I'm a volunteer, so I'm not even a paid employee. We don't have any paid employees, so the state does have that. They also have, things like lobbyists and attorneys that they have on staff and retainers. So anything in terms of legislative, that's really on the state level. We'll defer to them, or if we have an issue as a group, we can report to them and say, hey, here's our issue. New York is broken into 9 different regions in regards to how we're spaced out. Long Island is its own region. It's the largest region. We have 60 plus breweries on Long Island. There's 600 in the state, so we make up about 10% of the state. But in terms of our events and our benefits, we have, our regular meetings. We handle what's going on locally more so, but anything that gets into like legislative or anything like that, we're going to defer to the larger organization.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Now, Erik, I know the San Diego Brewers Guild has been around quite some time. When did you mention it was formed, and able to give us, a history of the guild in about 60 seconds to where you got to today?
Yeah, it was formed, I believe, in 1997, and I would have to really look back through some of the old meeting notes over the decades. But I think it's important to know we're also a 501c6, and governance of an organization like this is something that I've had to learn. I'm a very much go and do kind of person, and we're set up with a volunteer board of directors, which I started on 3 years ago, and then was fortunate enough to apply and get the current job that I have now. But my position reports into the board of directors and is dictated by how they see the overall strategic vision and direction of the guild, and we kind of work harmoniously there. So, we are a member organization, so we have different types of memberships, and brewery members, independently owned craft brewery members are voting members, and they're the ones who get to vote for any bylaw changes, or vote for our directors, and any big structural changes that we have goes through our membership. So something that we're really, pushing, and I think it's been lost over the years because our guild's been so established, is putting that ownership back in our brewery members and getting them excited and involved. We are here for them. And, we are responsible to them. And, we really try to encourage them to be as involved as possible, because, their dues pays for that vote, and helps influence the direction that we move as an organization.
So that's an interesting one to dive into right now. Talk to me a little about how all of you have like dues structured. I know, Karis, you mentioned industry partners. Erik, you just mentioned dues. So Erik, let's kind of start with you. You don't have to give exact numbers, but how is it structured for what brewery members and or industry partners are paying to, be part of the guild?
Yeah, and I think Karis and I spoke a couple months ago about the way our organizations operate, and I think we're fairly similar, but we have small, medium, large breweries, which hold the same rights. It's just a different amount of dues, and we assume that they are going to have X more employees involved in the guild because of their organizational size. We have affiliate membership, which is mostly suppliers. It's kind of a catch-all, but it's really everybody outside there. We do have other breweries that will fall into the affiliate category because they're not voting members, but Stone Brewing Company is a good example. It's an amazing brewery with great employees, but they don't fit within our classification, but they still want to be involved, and we'd be happy to have them. But they're not considered a voting member. And then we have individual professional memberships as well, which we tend to utilize more as somebody that's trying to establish themselves in the beer industry and looking to get involved, but doesn't have the backing of a company, can't spend hundreds of dollars a year on something like this. So we have a smaller barrier to entry to include them.
Erik, I have a question for you as just like I don't know, maybe it's because of my lack of water, but what are you guys voting on when you say that you have voting members and non-voting members within this membership? Because that's kind of not the way we do things. So I just want a little clarity around that.
Yeah, in my tenure here, the only thing that's gone to vote is for our board members. We're going through that right now. It's a 2-year term, and we have 7 board members. We've thought about expanding to try to get a little bit more buy-in and engagement, but every other year we have 3 or 4 members that term out. Other things that they would have to vote on would be any bylaw changes. So if we were to open up our categories and say include other types of memberships, things like that.
Okay. Yeah. So the way that we do it with the ABA is that's usually a board vote. And our board makeup is we take a representation or a representative from each class. So for example, the 50,000 to beyond barrel size, they have 1 or 2 representatives. And then our next class of the 25,000 to 50,000, they have 2 board members that are represented. And you can only vote as a brewery for your class, if that makes sense. So those are you vote for the folks that are going to represent your class size. And those are the things that we vote for. And if it's something of like, I don't know, hey, this person did something sus and we might need to like extract them from the ABA, that is a board vote, not a full membership vote.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we do have, board votes on any decisions that are made going forward, especially anything that it affects large amounts, like financial decisions and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's every board meeting there's multiple board votes on that kind of thing.
And then do you guys also have non-voting members on your board for like pro bono seats? So the way our board works is I have an HR seat and a lawyer seat that are non-voting members, but I can ask them anything on behalf of the breweries and they can answer me and I don't have to pay them. So for example, recently, all of the breweries have been coming to me of what can we do to reopen with power but no water legally? I want to do it above board. And so I can come in and ask my lawyer on behalf of all of them, and they don't have to call the lawyer, their lawyer, and get dinged for asking over and over again. And I can ask bulkly on behalf of all of the breweries what they need to do, what are all the steps, what are the guidelines, so that they can be in compliance, basically.
Yeah, we do. It sounds like you probably have more participation in those seats. Our treasurer, who sits on our financial committee, is a non-voting member, and he's volunteered for the last 8 years, and he's probably our greatest asset because as we've gone through a lot of different changes, he's really been able to ensure the financial literacy of the new board members and the transparency and direction, because there's a lot of ideas, but they tend to cost money, which I'm sure could be a whole other conversation, but not everybody takes that into account.
Yeah. And the good ones cost a lot of money usually.
Yeah, or incur financial risk too, right? Like,
well, that's part of it. Yeah, you need the risk reward.
Yeah, and maybe Matt can touch on the beer festival. We lost a lot of money in our guild fest that grew year over year. We brought it back post-COVID and lost a lot. So we didn't do it last year because I was very risk adverse on taking that chance. This year, in 3 weeks, we're hosting a 400-person beer festival instead of a 2,000-person beer festival.
Yeah,
and there's going to be learning curves with it, but it's a lot less risk because instead of doing it in a big venue that we pay for, we're doing it in a parking lot behind a brewery. So it's couple $1,000s instead of tens of thousands of dollars.
That was similar to our fest. We had tried to shoot for the moon originally, and we were looking at this venue. My thought, and this was really my baby when I came in, is that I really wanted to do, we're Long Island, I wanted a beach festival, and finding that venue had been a big hurdle for us. I approached several different spots. One place wanted $12,000 just for the venue. Yeah. I'm like, how much are we going to charge for tickets to make this a viable event? I mean, no one's going to pay that amount of money to make this an event that people will attend. So we were able to search it out. It took about 1.5 years to pin that down, and we were able to get a beach venue for a song who loved us. We were greasing every security guard and park police member with beer on the way out. It's like they loved us. So, that's something we have locked up long term now. But getting the venue was the big thing. It ended up being our we had, I think, 260 show up. So, first year we turned a very, very minimal profit, but we didn't lose money. So that's something that we're going to go to, hopefully grow with next year, and, get it up to 400 and then maybe get it to 5, 6, 7 in the coming years. And the nice thing is the venue loved us. We did the right thing by them. Everything was taken care of. We have a good liaison with New York State who helps us out with all our permits and all that kind of stuff. He's actually a state employee, so we lean on him constantly. I think you met him, Andrew Steffen. Just a wonderful guy. So, and that's a state employee. So that came into play, but we definitely brought in sponsors for that. We will be moving towards that allied membership, just kind of pinning that down. So my goals for the first 1.5 years or so were basically bumping up membership. I would, the New York State had always told me when I was working with Paul Leone from our State Brewers Association that the first question you're going to be asked is, okay, how many breweries do you have? And how many of them are active members in your community? So, if we have 60 plus breweries on Long Island, if I go and I say I've got 20 of them, then that doesn't carry the panache of carrying, 45 or 50 of them. Mm-hmm. So it's all about making sure your group is enrolled. And I really think it's organization at that point and communication and having good channels with that kind of stuff.
So Matt, let's kind of keep going down the event rabbit hole real quick. You talk about doing the beer fest. When you're doing these fests, raising the money, what is the money going towards? And for everyone else, I kind of love to learn your response to what are you fundraising for and the other events that you all are doing. But Matt, let's kind of start with you, kind of breaking us through that event a little bit more.
Well, with our event this year, our main goal was to break even, including, at least providing a minor stipend to the member breweries who are involved. So each brewery got a little bit of a stipend back, which was great. So, they weren't donating the beer. They got a small, covered basically their costs. After that, our accounts basically are going to be used to grow Long Island Beer's footprint across the region, because we're competing against those big brands all over the place. So one of the things that we did with this festival's funds, we took it and we bought a lowboy refrigerator for one of the local concert venues. So they will only thing going in that from that point forward will be Long Island beer. So every time you go into that venue, it's a Long Island beer event then, so, and every brewer in Long Island, as long as they got that LIBG logo on their cans, is eligible to be part of that venue. So that's kind of the growth thing we're looking for now, in terms of just supporting our breweries and making sure that they're out in front, and long term, like buying some racks for home D's and things like that are in the cards for the short term, and just expanding and growing as a group, as opposed to having one brewery go into a store and try to pin down a spot.
And at the moment, is this fest the only fundraising, like consumer facing event you all do?
That's it for now. We are going to be bringing in Allied partnership next year, so that should generate a couple $1,000s at least in the first year. With that, we're going to offer event tickets. We're going to have a database for our breweries, so it's like, all right, this guy's an active Allied member with us. And the other thing too is we're going to have speaking events. We have a strict calendar, which is great for keeping everyone organized. So every second Monday of the even month is when we have our guild meetings. So everyone knows all year long that the second Monday in the even months is the next Brewers meeting. So we're good to go there. And I think that's really what's kind of helped us grow. That, and then having contact information for everyone is key, to making the communication and the consistency is where you're going to grow as a guild.
And there's so much we can talk about today. So if anybody listening has any questions, I imagine at some point in time, everyone here will probably be open to taking questions via email. We can drop those later today. But Erik, talk to us about the events you're doing out in San Diego and how you're raising money and what's it going to.
Yeah, so I was told that this job is an events job, and I tend to find that a lot of jobs turn into events jobs, at least in my career path. We do a lot of events. Our guild is very event heavy. We do a Tap into Knowledge series, which is pretty much monthly, aside from a couple months. It's like smaller, more targeted seminars. We have San Diego Beer Weekend, which is a great media getter. It's a time where we get a lot of media traction on trying to showcase local breweries around town, do events, but it is a smaller event or weekend compared to San Diego Beer Week, which is in November. We do an annual golf tournament, which is industry focused. It's a really good fundraiser for us. It's a really good time. We do, the last 3 years, we've had San Diego Craft Beer Con. The State Guild used to do a conference down in Southern California annually, and they pulled out a couple years ago. So we filled that niche there, and that's been really successful. We've gotten really creative with, talking about or asking the question on where does the money go. We've been very creative on cutting expenses where they're not needed. So those conferences, if you look at, hosting one in an event space in a ballroom somewhere, a convention center, those tickets need to be $300 minimum. But we partner with a local community college between their summer and fall semesters. They have a brewing program. They let us take over the campus. We use classrooms. We have the vendors set trade show tables up outside of the classrooms. Fortunately, we're San Diego and this campus is less than a mile from the beach, so the weather's great. But we get creative with it, and there's been a lot of positive reception to that. People are ready for the mold to change a little bit, and we had these big expectations on what brewery and guild events looked like for so long. People are ready to go back to grassroots, and as long as the right people are there and we're having the right conversations, that's what really matters.
No, yeah, absolutely. You mentioned like the cost to put on events, like finding event spaces that are affordable is so tough. So I know what all of you are going through. And I think everybody in the industry has complained about those box lunches you get at a beer conference before, but they cost literally like $30 sometimes just for a simple box lunch. And Erik, researching venues out in San Diego, someone quoted me $72 for a freaking box lunch. So
yeah, to jump on that though, because we've encountered the same thing. For our conference, we spent probably $5,000 on lunches, and it all went to the local deli inside one of our member breweries. And we've done that probably 3 times this year with different member breweries. And it's money we would have spent anyways, but instead we reinvest it with breweries. When we used to do happy hours, we would do really fun events, go to putt-putt and stuff. Now we do them all in a brewery, and we pay for the beer that we ask for. And that used to not be the case. And that was fine, pre-COVID, but that's not what people want or need anymore. So we've been able to reinvest any opportunity we get. And, I should probably pull the number at the end of the year, but we've reinvested maybe $10,000 in our membership through, over the bar sales this year, which is really great.
No, I love that. Now, Karis, let's turn to you. I mean, I know you're doing a lot of fundraising right now, but once you all get back into the event side of things, like fests, conferences, what type of activities have you historically done in Nashville?
I would say before a month ago, we were doing a lot of event activations. We're glorified event planners and continuing education leaders here. And we, every May, put on Asheville Beer Week. The title is misleading. It's usually 10 days, 2 full weekends. And it is really for us to amplify our breweries and promote tourism. We work very closely with the Buncombe County Tourism Department and the local hotels, who have done a great job over the years. Asheville Beer Week has been in existence since 2011, but partnering with local hotels to provide discounts. They do pre-parties, all kinds of sponsorships as well. They encourage beverage influencers to come on their dime and sponsor them as well. It is one of those 2 weekend long events where my breweries have said sometimes, especially this year, it was higher numbers and sales than our tourism season, which is really sad in my opinion. That just shows how our tourism numbers are dwindling. But we are doing the best we can to activate every May. Before a month ago, we were planning to release a new beer festival in February of 2025. I think that we are going to cancel that just because there's not enough capacity in the folks that I have with the planning committee. Some of those breweries that were intentionally going to be a part of this event are no longer standing. So we're going to try to make Beer Week better than ever this year. Last year, for the first time, I tried to do an expo where I really wanted to get our allied trade members, those realtors, those malt, those hops, POS systems all together in one area and have a beer festival at the same time. It was kind of this idea that I thought would really encourage our active breweries to engage with our allied trade members in a easy and authentic way. And it turned out pretty great. We only ended up spending about $100 overall with, all the sponsorships and numbers balancing out. So I was pretty pleased that we didn't actually lose money on the event. And I hope to bring that back next year along with Beer Week. It was in conjunction with Beer Week, so folks were there for the beer and then for the education as well. We also had the North Carolina Brewers Guild, our state guild, come and do all of the educational portions, which was huge because it was such a collaborative event. It helped me take a lot off my plate. I knew that they had done this before, and it was an additional push for them to advertise their craft brewers conference that they hold in Winston 2 months later or 3 months later. So it was a nice segue for them and actually amplified what they already do. And it was just a preview of what was to come. So
now I'd like to take a step back for a moment because all three of you are like the leaders of your organizations. You have, in most cases, a board that you're working with. Karis, can we dive a little bit deeper into the board? How are people chosen, elected, voted on? How does the board come to be?
Yeah, so basically, it does have to do with our makeup of membership. So the way our board works is we do have different board representation from each different class, and you are voted on by those members. So, for example, Sierra is the only person in the 50,000 barrel or higher category. So they kind of win by default because there's no one else in that category that can vote. But our breweries, the biggest class is that 0 to 5,000. So that's where you're going to find outsider and smaller breweries. And so all of those different breweries get one vote to vote for a new representation for the board for their class. And so at this time, we have 14 board members. 12 of those are voting members who represent a different class.
Are they year-long terms?
They are 2-year-long terms. And we do a waiving fluctuation term. So just in case a lot of people are falling off at the same time, someone can extend their term. And then you do have the option for reelection as well. But that way it's not just brewery representation on the board. We've got folks maybe that are in POS, that are in a hop business or something or other that has nothing to do with everyday brewing industry, but might have something to do with supplying stuff for the brewing industry or front of house or back of house. And then it really comes in handy with things like needing water at a time like this. And I can't believe we have, a water pump filtration system in our ABA makeup to help us with things like this. Or I can't believe we have a construction business in our ABA makeup that we can just call when I created this directory. And I'm like, actually, you guys can just go call the ABA member right now. And, they can help you with your pipes and they can help you with your draft system. And we already have all of these systems in place of all of our members who have these businesses and have been doing this work in their own respective lanes for so long. And now the lanes can really cross and it be very easy to connect with our members and use them for resources as it was intended. And it's just unfortunate that we have to do it for an emergency situation, but
you have them in place already and they're there.
Yes.
That really is valuable. Erik and Matt, is there anything unique about your boards you'd like to share?
Our board is pretty much straightforward, similar setup to you guys. We have 1, 2, 3 year terms. There's 5 sitting board members right now. I do not vote. Obviously, I don't own a brewery, so I have no voting. I'm really organizational, operations, keeping everything going. I'm there to help, discuss terms and that kind of stuff. But our votes are basically a roll call at our meetings. If someone has, and that's also kind of an open forum too. What we do is we'll send out an agenda before the meeting. So if there's anything that needs to be voted on with that month or that 2-month period, then it's brought up at the meeting. People can discuss or speak their piece. We did have a little contention about 2 years ago because we are Long Island. We have 2 massive breweries that were partners with AB, and of course, keeping the independence of the Craft Brewers Guild was something that we had to worry about. So we had some contentious conversations about Blue Point and Montauk, both being AB partners at the time, which now are both Tilray. So it's a little bit less of an issue with a lot of the membership. Tilray is not as involved on the local, in terms of, I don't need to dive into the weeds with all that stuff.
What we did actually was we moved them just to another class. So we said, you're still welcome to be ABA members, but we're going to put you with the realtors and the malt and the hops. So you're now in that category.
Yeah, we've kind of tried to figure out how to work with them. To be honest, they've kind of taken a step back from the local scene, so they're not as active as they had been. We do a Long Island Cares beer every year, which goes to the local food bank, and we brewed it at Blue Point last year while they were part of the whole Tilray. But they've kind of taken a step back. I don't know, there's some rejiggering going with the whole Tilray setup, so I don't know what's going on there, but we don't really see it hiding our hair, to be honest, at this point. So we're gonna in order to be a member, you just have to be a brewery owner on Long Island to vote on anything. So, but again, we haven't really had many votes aside from voting on board members, really.
Mm-hmm. If you don't mind, let me change gears real quick. As I get text messages in the background here, something that I assume most guilds deal with a lot in the background that our membership or the general consumer probably doesn't realize. And when you're talking about value that a guild provides is, I've been going back and forth since yesterday with our PR agency on sending out a press release for GABF medals that our region and members won. And, we're trying to get pictures together of everybody holding the San Diego flag and, working with the different breweries that we can spotlight, because we're probably going to get media spots this week once that press release goes out. So we're trying to get all of our ducks in a row so we can send that out. But it's one of those many examples of things that the guild does. When we get 30 mentions in local publications for San Diego beers winning big in Denver, they probably don't realize that it's a paid press release that we work with an agency on to get that word out. So there are a lot of little things in the background that aren't maybe as transparent. So they see it. Oh, it's great. The local paper picked that up, and it's like, well, they picked it up, and you could tell the way it's written is straight from the press release that our agency sent out. So
I'm super extra, Erik, and I will bring the magazine with me to meetings. So, for example, I convinced my board to pay for an advertisement in our tourism visitor guide for the year, and just listed all of our ABA members. And so I paid I think it was $500, but that's an ABA price of membership. And we don't usually pay for advertising like that, but I thought, why not? And so now when I go to meetings to talk about, the benefits of being an ABA member, I say, look, I even, pay for advertising. And when you go to the visitor guide, you can see all of the ABA members in all of the different businesses. And I pull it out and I show them and I say, this is some of the values that you can see. And we do things like this all of the time, whether it be a press release in a magazine or me just saying, hey, I'm sending a news reporter over to your business right now because they called me and I don't want to quote, and they don't realize that we are doing all of this stuff all the time. So I try to make it very clear.
Yeah, that I think is a great idea.
And Erik,
something that we're working towards, and it's easier said than done. We're going to start small, but we really need to publish an annual report. And my wife's a nonprofit professional, and she works in developing their annual report, and it's very robust. But just recapping some of that and saying how many social media impressions did we put out, because we have an email list of 15,000 people and an Instagram of almost 40. And if we can help push your brand on that, you'd have to pay somebody else a lot to do that, but you have this tool built in as a member for very little.
Yep.
And so trying to recap that at the end of the year, I tried to do a little bit last year and hope this year we can succeed a little bit more. But it would be impressive to say, yeah, we had however many guest spots on the news or media mentions, because it would equate to millions of readers.
Yeah. Well, and you can probably do those search Googles. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, you're good. I feel like I'm in a weird space where I'm a lot like you all, but different in some ways. But one thing, Erik, that resonated with me is that's one thing we do at CBP. We actually do kind of a year-end recap where we talk about a lot of those cool metrics that you just mentioned. Although social media impressions, I probably need to get a little bit better at that one. But there's a lot of metrics we talk about, especially to the value of our partners, to show, why you need to be here, why it's important, how we can help. Now, Karis, I want to go back to you and all the value you provide your members, because there's value that we're talking about that's typical local guild or even state guild value, but you all do a lot more, and a lot of it's becoming really valuable right now. So share a little bit about the healthcare and mental health services options that members have access to.
Yeah, I think I come from a unique background where I don't own a business. I bartend on my side hustles. And so I am service industry. I am one of those people that never was offered healthcare benefits. None of that. So the first thing I thought was, oh my gosh, there's all of these other front of house and back of house staff that technically work underneath me that I want to help, whether it be mental health services, healthcare. How can I help them show up for work? And so one of our urgent cares here in town, Mercy Urgent Care, they have 8 facilities within Western North Carolina. They said, can we be an ABM member? We'd love to have your brewery front of house, back of house staff come and use our urgent care. And I'm like, I guess so. That makes sense. But then they went a step further and said, no, we want to partner with you all and offer a discounted plan for every single one of your ABA members, whether they are part-time or full-time. So just to pause, what that means is folks I use Sierra because everybody knows Sierra. They are a wonderful company. They, have a masseuse on staff. They take care of you. But if you're part-time, you might not get those same benefits. You might not get those same mental health services and healthcare services. What do you do then? And especially if you're a smaller brewery, you might not be offering any of these healthcare services to any of your staff. So the way that Mercy Urgent Care works is, again, 8 facilities within Western North Carolina. Any single ABA member is able to either they can the staff member can pay for it, $50 a month, or the employer can pay for it, or they can do 50-50 split. It is not set up with your marketplace. It can be additionally used. So even if you have health insurance through Sierra, you can still add this on so that maybe you are sick all the time and you want to continue to go to urgent care every 2 weeks because you do need to check out your cough just for peace of mind. You can do that, and it's all covered with that $50 a month. And then the best part is, for $79 a month, you can include a family of 4. So say you work at Sierra and they don't cover your family, you can add the $79 a month and take care of your whole family as well. Additionally, this covers COVID tests, shots, stitches, x-rays. They operate like a primary care and an urgent care. And then they've also partnered with a family local practitioner for integrative health and family practice medicine, so that you can set up and be seen for your whole family and have an actual family practitioner that you use. And all of that is included with the $50 a month. In my opinion, this is one of the easiest way to help with job security. I've had ABA members, to Matt's point, sign on, who never had any intention on becoming a ABA member, just because there's so much happening. They don't have time to make it to the meetings. They don't have time to do all this stuff. But after, we've been the ABA has been in function since 2009. Some of these breweries have been around since then, and they've never thought it beneficial to join the actual Brewers Alliance. The minute they found out about a healthcare opportunity for their staff, they were like, I probably still won't make it to a meeting, but the fact that I can help make sure my staff are supported and all I have to do is, pay the membership fees, I'm down. So we were able to secure so many other breweries basically just because we were offering these healthcare plans. And I think that part was very beneficial, because then I have their information finally, and then we can, pull the strings a little bit to get them elaborating on other things, and them really understanding that the ABA is a little bit more about helping all of your staff, and really just understanding more about what we're about, so they actually want to be a part of it.
And after we hear from Matt, we're going to dive more into getting our communities to engage. But, Karis, those are amazing benefits that you offer. I mean, if I heard that, I'd want to sign up just for that as well. So it's so cool that you offer that. Now, looking to Long Island, Matt, let's pretend like I either just opened my brewery, I've been a brewery that's been dodging you for a decade now, and you're pitching me on why there's value in the Long Island Brewers Guild. What are you going to tell me? Why should I join?
That's where we're kind of pushing now, and that's it's really I do insurance for a living. I would love to do that. New York's a little weird about how we do consortium health, but this working with the urgent care centers, that's might be worth an idea looking into on my end. But it's it's hard, and that's the main thing, is finding those value added items. Ideally, with growth and growing our festivals, we also have which I neglected to mention, a program called the Treasure Hunt. So that's drawing people into the breweries. That's coming around where it's starting to be a bit more profitable. But in order to be involved with that, you have to be a member brewery. So I think you have to donate a pint for the first time, but it gets people in the door. So it's, trying to get more involved with those different options, and making the festival profitable, so we can, maybe even have larger stipends going out. So, that's really the crux of getting people involved. A lot of it's just the passion of being involved in the industry and trying to support your business. And we have resources like Slacks and different, events where people give discount codes or that kind of stuff. So that's really what you got to dive into. And, we also are sub with the state. So, you have different benefits available that way too. So.
Now, Matt, you had mentioned that you do quarterly meetings, correct?
Every 2 months.
Every 2 months. So talk to us a little bit about what goes on at these meetings. Is there an educational component? What can people expect?
So with our bi-monthly meetings, we try again. This speaks to Long Island again. We have breweries. Montauk is about. I'm in the middle of the island. Montauk is still 60 miles away from me, and then we extend all the way into Queens. Queens and Brooklyn are technically on Long Island, but they go to the New York City Guild. So we try to keep our meetings centralized. That's a big thing. Whereas you don't have anyone who's got to travel 2 hours. Like for the breweries in deep Nassau County, it takes 2 hours to get to the breweries down in the far end of Long Island. So it's about keeping things centralized. When we have the meeting, typically we're going to have just guild. Obviously, the last meeting we had was all about getting the festival together, because our August meeting, our festival was in September. So it was assigning tasks, all that kind of stuff. We do have speakers coming in to different meetings. Or anything. And again, to the mental health aspect, there's a great organization out there called Infinite Ingredient, who offers free mental health services to people in the craft beer industry. So that's something that got brought up at a meeting recently. The next meeting we have, we're going to have a speaker from ALS, kind of giving their information about working with their organization. And then once we get that allied program going, we're going to have more, paid spots from allied members in the industry where they would be able to kind of give a pitch or a 10-minute talking session at that point. The one thing that I do want to do with those is that I want those meetings to be based more so in providing information to membership as opposed to a sales pitch, because I've been to conferences and it's like, it's a marketing conference and it's basically you're learning about how the marketing company works, and it's people leave that with a bad taste in their mouth. So I want the added value of you coming in and speaking to the group on something that affects them and teaching them something and then that's how they become, and that's how I've made my career too, is that I'm not a brewer, but I have several of these breweries as clients because I add the value to what I do, or the information that I provide free of charge. I work with breweries for 5 years and then it's like, oh, you know what? It's time. I got to go talk to Matt, so that's really what we got to do with those allied partnerships and get those people on board that way. So, it's adding value, but it also depends, the next meeting is going to be all about distribution of our collaborative beer and all that kind of stuff. So whatever's on the topic du jour plus add-ins.
Yeah, I've been trying to kind of use my allied trade members in a kind of easy way where they want to be in front of members to use them for business and do these kind of pitches, as Matt would say, where they're like really just trying to get business out of the breweries. And so I've said, how about you sponsor one of our networking events where we're all going to come together. You can buy the drinks, you can have the drink tokens, and everyone has to come talk to you. And you can even do a 5-minute pitch. And then the rest of the time, we are engaging, we're talking with one another, we're networking, and everybody knows that you are the sponsor, that you were the ones that supplied the drinks, so that, the next time they're thinking about, hey, I need an insurance guy, I'm going to go to Matt because, he got me those great drinks and we had a great conversation and the camaraderie was there and he wasn't actually trying to sell me anything in the moment. And it was just like a nice, welcoming environment. And so that's kind of where I've been doing it. And we've been having more family-friendly networking events where we had the Buncombe County Tourism Department sponsor all of our breweries and hotels and restaurants and tourism workers for a baseball night. And I said, bring your business card, talk to folks. I even invited our sewer department who, they're calling me talking about, remind all the breweries about, their spill plans and things. And so I said, this is where you introduce yourself. That way they have your number as well. That way, when you're calling them about their spill plans, they aren't scared, and it's a little more easy because we all know each other and just make it a little more comfortable.
Karis, you and Matt absolutely nailed it. It's all about providing value and helping build relationships, because no one in this industry really wants to be sold to at all. And I joke about it sometimes, but the trajectory that works the most is, we meet at a party on night 1. Night 2, I learn a little bit more about what you do. And night 3, I want to do business with you just because I like having a beer with you or felt the value that you brought to the table. And it's so true. I mean, we just come for those connections and hopefully walk away with something, whether it's a new insurance policy or just another peer in our city we can reach out to if we need some hops. that just helps us grow stronger together. And that's like truly what it's about. And like, Erik, talk a little bit more about the value that you're providing to your members, but more importantly, like how you're actually motivating them to come out. Because I know you kind of meet in the central area, but you have people coming from both sides. Like, how do you actually get them to show up?
Yeah, that's hard with anything, and everybody's so last minute, which makes it difficult to plan. We had a member meeting unknowingly scheduled last Wednesday, which everybody's leaving for GABF over the next couple days, and also happened to be the Padres in a pretty big playoff game. So we ended up pushing that back to November just because of low engagement. But in the past, when it's slower seasons, like our January meeting tends to be really well attended. What I found to be successful, and this takes a lot of work and time, which is the only struggle, is really having candid conversations on every party's goals in the relationship. And this goes for breweries and for affiliate members. And there's been certain affiliate members where we've kind of just agreed that if the relationship might not make sense, and I'd say, if you want to just give us money to give us money, that's great. But I would rather work with you and develop a relationship and understand what your goals are for this next year, so that you're not just pissed off that the guild didn't do anything for you. And that goes for breweries too. But what I found with breweries is breweries all have very different goals. The first goal needs to be, do you want San Diego to be a premier beer city in the United States? If you're willing to buy into that, then we can go on to the next step. But the next step is always different. It could be, I want media opportunities, or I want to have some educational content that I can rely on, or we really like the consolidated, beer competition shipping that the guild coordinates. Like, all of those are very different for every brewery. And I think being up front is really what's been the best received on our end, because you just need to be candid. Again, like, if you understand what their goals are and their goals doesn't align with your bandwidth or what 90% of the other breweries are looking for, maybe we're not the best, guild or association to be a member with. You can still come to our events. Maybe you don't want to pay that up front, but you want to pay the non-member price and still participate in certain things. That's fine. But when you don't understand each other's goals or direction, that's where things get difficult, and there begins to be resentment. It's just a lack of a clear conversation. And from the affiliate side, I've been very successful in those conversations because you're able to either help them achieve those goals, or just say that's not really the direction we go, and our members don't really need that. But if somebody wants to come and get down and dirty, we're a very tactile industry and city. And if you want to come in and help, say bring a new hop supplier to San Diego, you need to be here. Like, we can send emails on your behalf, and that's great. It'll, help us fundraise, but you need to come to our events and be there and be receptive to feedback. And those are the ones that have been most successful and beneficial for our members to have as part of our community as well.
Yeah, you can spend $500 and be at the events and get to know every member of the guild, or you can spend $10,000 and never be seen. The guy who spends $500 can do a much better job getting to your membership.
Yeah. Well, and I've been saying to my members, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Tell me your goals. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. And I will try to activate it. It might flop. It might flail. We don't know. But I'm willing to try it. I just need you to tell me what you need and what your goals are and how you see your membership coming to fruition in a viable way, so that I can help with that. And
and it's going to take work from them too. And I think that's okay being clear about. San Diego Beer Week in a couple weeks, we've had a lot of people that have been in this industry for over a decade. And so Beer Week used to be so good in 2015. Well, what are you doing this Beer Week? Well, nothing. Well, that's part of the problem. The guild's here to be a catalyst, to connect those dots, but we can't create all of the actual events out in town and all the content that's being put out. But if members can help us funnel that through us, we can amplify that in one unified voice.
I put it all on my members. I say, you guys are in charge of putting on the events. I will amplify them. I will get them on the news. I will share your press releases, but you are the brains behind your events. You're the one that knows your capacity for actually putting on the event and even your inside capacity, like you do all the heavy lifting of planning this and I will amplify it.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Yeah,
that.
you get out of it what you put into it, and that's anything in life.
Yeah.
And with over, nearly 10,000 breweries in the country, and all my interactions and all my trying to discover local regions and cities that have organizations like you all, there's not many. And I truly hope conversations like this can help inspire, cities, regions to come together to form something similar, because there's so much value, as everybody's heard today. And we are going to do a part 2 of this conversation at some point in time, because there's no way we're going to cover all the topics that we wanted to dive into. But as we wind down part 1, Karis, I'd like to start with you on this one. For anyone in a city or region who's thinking about forming their own city or regional guild, what's a personal recommendation you have to them?
Oh, goodness. I would say talk to other guilds around your area. So one thing that has been really beneficial for me is there's actually a restaurant guild here in town that has been in operation longer than the Brewers Guild, but operates very similarly. And so the minute they found out about the healthcare, for me, they also got on the healthcare plan. And then I found out about their dental plan. And now we're on the same dental plan. And we've just been like vibing off of all of these new, exciting experiences and resources that we can provide to our members as a whole and partnering together. So maybe even looking for other guilds within your area that are operating kind of similarly to mirror that and even collaborate with, because we're all stronger together. And sometimes knowing people and other resources, and sometimes the brewery has a the brewery has a restaurant, and there's already that food aspect to it. So they might already be in another restaurant guild and you just don't know, or restaurant association. And so they might even be able to join your board and provide insight and help you understand how to form said guild, because they're already on one with a restaurant and something like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Karis. Matt, your turn.
The best thing I can tell you to do to get a guild up and running is to get organized. Like I said, having set schedules, having a constant stream of communication with your membership is the way to keep people engaged. If you don't know when the next meeting is going to be, if you don't have a running list of what's going on, or people like, I didn't even know about that event, then you're never succeed. So you need to be organized to get it going. Best thing we ever did, when I came into the guild, I said it was like herding cats. But it took a lot of organization. So I now have a list of 115 people at the 60 breweries on the island. If they can't make a meeting, they at least know when it is. And with the emails, they know where it is. So it's just keeping everything organized, keeping it straightforward, and making it easy to be a member and to participate is the big thing. And then going from there.
And Erik, take us home.
Well, I've never created a guild, but my 2 cents would be to start small and ensure that you have intention. So find a goal that you want to achieve and bring like-minded people together to achieve that goal, but make it small and realistic and build on it from there.
No, I like that, Erik. No, Karis, as mentioned, we're all thinking of you all in Western North Carolina. Is there a link anyone can go to learn more? How can we help? Any recommendations?
Yeah, so the state Brewers Guild, the North Carolina Brewers Guild, has a great list of resources. You actually probably can drop it in the chat. That will cover all of the GoFundMes that are listed for North Carolina specifically, that you can donate to. I'm telling everyone, if you see a GoFundMe and you have the means to donate. Most people are using their own funds to help in any way they possibly can. Most people are literally giving their shirts off their backs to people around them. We all don't have water, so like no judgment if you go get a pedicure, because the people that are running the pedicure shop need to get paid too. And I think it's going to take everyone donating to everyone around them for this to be a beautiful beer city again. Buy merch, buy beer if you're a local. If you're a regional and you can support by going and picking up beer, go and pick up some kegs of beer and sell it at your own brewery. If you can donate beer so that they can sell it at their breweries here in town that are open, please do that. If you are far away and listening and you want to buy merch, buy merch. If you want to buy beer that can be shipped to you, do that as well. We need all the income coming in from all the breweries as possible. If there's a brewery that you love, now's the time to go online and support them and, buy some swag.
No, thank you so much, Karis. We're really thinking of you, and I can't wait to visit Asheville again. So can't wait to see you.
Yeah, come back soon. We'll have water hopefully in like 3 to 4 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, it's insane. Like you guys know, I spent a lot of time out there over the last couple of years, and it's been so hard to see everybody personally affected by it, and it's crass to think about business, but like leaf season was a huge time of increased revenue out there, and the fact
our tourism season is completely shot. That
so alone is going to kill business, whether they are physically affected by the flood or not. Like not having those 3 months of increased revenue is just,
well, that's the thing. Even if they weren't physically affected with flooding, half the places can't open because they don't have power or running water. So even if they weren't damaged physically, their staff still can't get paid to open because they don't have water or power. And so there's just this like holdup of, somebody said, what are all the things that are making it hard for us to establish water and normalcy again? And the quote was everything. Because there's, limited internet, limited cell phone service, limited communication. Wherever I leave my house, I'm like leaving notes of, hey, I left, and went out. I'll be back at this time, because you don't know if the person coming to check on you has cell phone reception or has a phone.
Wow.
It's just kind of wild.
Well, everybody, please follow the link below and support our friends in Asheville. We really, really encourage you. I mean, this conference is 100% free, so please just take the time to give what you can. And Karis, Matt, and Erik, this has been a really good conversation. We will do a part 2, I promise. Not sure when, but it's coming. Hope everybody finds value in this and has some insight and motivation to either, step up your local guild or just consider starting one. So once again, thank you all so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Shout out to all my local breweries that won at GBABF.
Woo.
Yeah.